Hey guys, welcome back. It's Elise, and this is 10 to Life, where we're talking everything true crime. So if you are brand new, you've never heard of this channel, you have no idea who I am and you know what this channel is, but you end up appreciating today's video and feel like you want to check this channel out again in the future, please make sure that you subscribe. And also, added bonus points if you hit your notification bell and turn it to on, because YouTube likes to be crazy on these streets and rarely notifies anybody, whether you are a subscriber or not, of new videos. So if you do double the fun and subscribe and turn on your notification bell, there's like a 6 or 7% chance that you actually will be notified when a new video comes on. And for all of my returning 10 to Lifers, welcome back. As always, so happy to have you here talking with me today and going through this case. And before I jump in, I do want to just say this. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I just want to publicly address everybody and say thank you for everybody's well wishes this last weekend. I had made a post on my community tab about our daughter, Emmy. She was suffering what looked like seizure-like activity on Sunday afternoon and into Monday, and so we were in the hospital with her for a few days. Luckily, it turns out it is nothing too serious, just something to keep an eye on. She underwent all sorts of different testing and all of that. And so I came to YouTube, and I went on Facebook, I went on Instagram, I came on YouTube and made a post on all of those places, basically just asking for prayers, because I believe in the power of prayer, and I was blown away by the response and the support and the well wishes that everybody gave. And I mean, this community continues to blow me away. It's just unbelievable. And honestly, the very next morning is when the neurologist came in and gave us the all clear that her test results came back okay and that we were able to go home. So she's luckily at home resting now, back to her happy, lively self. And I posted already and said thank you on my original post in the comments, but I wanted to just, personally, in case you didn't see that, say thank you to all of you, whether you shared the status, commented, said a silent prayer, liked the status, anything. I am beyond grateful. So I wanted to address that first. Now we are going to talk today about another little baby, and apparently a family who isn't as loving towards him, and it's updates in the Quinton Simon case. We haven't talked about it on this channel for a while now, and I know there has been a lot of information released, and so many of you guys have been asking for me to cover the new updates and share my thoughts, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So guys, let's jump right in.
10 to Life with Elise starts right now.
As I mentioned, today we're talking about all of the recent updates in the Quinton Simon case. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the playlist that I'm going to link in the description box to familiarize yourself with this absolute monstrosity of a case and all of the details in this case, because it is just atrocious and disgusting. But for those of you that need a brief refreshing, I'm going to go ahead and quickly do that for you before we dive into these new insane and quite frankly infuriating details and updates that have now come up and surfaced in this case. So Quinton Simon was a 20-month-old toddler who is said to be full of happiness, full of life, and like toddlers, all toddlers, full of innocence. His babysitter Diana claimed that he had a belly laugh that was just completely contagious. His life, unfortunately, was cut tragically short after a whirlwind of lies, deception, and selfishness. On October 5th, Quinton was allegedly last seen in his playpen at 5:30 a.m. He was allegedly last seen by his mother, Leilani's boyfriend, and then at around 6 a.m. that morning, Daniel, the boyfriend, called the babysitter to inform her that the children would not be coming over that day, which according to the babysitter was very out of the ordinary. Then at 9 a.m., Daniel calls the babysitter to see if she had seen Quinton, even though they just told her a few hours earlier that they didn't need her. And after much back and forth, the couple ended up denying the babysitter's help to ultimately go and search for Quinton, and then finally called the police to report him missing after 45 minutes after initially realizing that he was missing. Now that whole story goes much deeper in that timeline, so again, if you're not familiar, if you need a refresher, go to the playlist because we break out that full timeline of that morning, the weird suspicious activity, things that were said, but that's the brief high-level overview. So the community was in an absolute frenzy, and local law enforcement called the FBI out on the same day, searching everywhere in the vicinity for this 20-month boy that seemed to have just walked out the front door. 7 days later, on October 12th, law enforcement put out a statement that they had new evidence to believe that Quinton Simon was actually deceased, and they named his mother, Leilani, as the number one prime suspect. However, they didn't arrest Leilani, and that kind of infuriated everybody, and she still hasn't been arrested as of this moment while I'm recording. And that's kind of where we left off. Everybody was infuriated that she hadn't been arrested, but they were saying she's our prime suspect, but we don't believe she's a flight risk, and everybody's head was spinning. They also had said that they believed that Quinton's remains were in a landfill, and that they were going to begin the search of the landfill. So I'm going to warn you now, as we go forward, and as we talk about the updates in this case, they are going to, and they should, absolutely infuriate you. After the press conference on October 12th, we not only learned that Quinton was presumed dead, but we had learned that his very mother, 22-year-old Leilani, was the number one suspect. And still, to this day, unsure of exactly how they came to that conclusion and what led them there. They haven't shared that. We also have learned that law enforcement did not know exactly where she was at that moment. However, they believed she wasn't a flight risk. So we thought maybe she was in a treatment center, maybe there was a watchful eye, but they couldn't share that information. Who knows? The night prior to the press conference on October 11th, the screenshots had surfaced from her mother, Billie Jo, telling somebody via Facebook Messenger that Leilani was the one who killed Quinton, and that he was somewhere in a landfill. But apparently that Leilani had no recollection of what happened. The screenshot had a bunch of controversy around it, with many people questioning its legitimacy. We were all on the edge of our seats really waiting for confirmation from law enforcement to verify if this was true or not. And then, the very next day, they announced everything in the press conference, and Billie Jo also told a news reporter, Brett Buffington, that Leilani did not remember anything that morning about Quinton's disappearance. But one thing that was very clear about that morning was that the trash was scheduled to run. The police had told Billie Jo that they believed that baby Quinton was now somewhere in the landfill. So, what was the evidence that led law enforcement to believe that Quinton was deceased and that Leilani was responsible? Because I think if she were to confess, she would have certainly been arrested. So, did they find something in her tech? Did somebody else tell the police that she confessed, but it wasn't directly to them? They haven't announced it yet. The very next morning, we saw Leilani for the first time since Quinton had gone missing. She was seen leaving her house with her friend Paige, and it's unknown where she was heading. On October 14th, paperwork with the Chatham County Courts was filed for an order transferring temporary custody of the oldest boy, Zane, from Billie Jo, and Sky, from Leilani, over to the state of Georgia. This paperwork highlighted a lot of details as to the kind of parent that Leilani was. In this paperwork, the state claimed that returning the children to the home would be contrary to the safety of the children, and that their removal was in their best interest. It stated that the mother is the primary suspect to the death of Quinton Simon, and the other members of the household are being investigated for protective capacity. It stated that Leilani was a chronic and unrehabilitated substance abuser of coke and cannabis. The paperwork stated that she tested positive for illegal substances at the birth of her daughter Sky, and at the birth of Zane as well. I mean, yay, Mother of the Year, right? It stated that throughout the years, she has continued to test positive for those exact same substances. The document also stated that Leilani has bipolar disorder as well as anxiety disorder, but that she was not nor has ever received any treatment for it. The document said that the grandmother, Billie Jo, was a voluntary kinship placement, taking on sole custody of the two boys, Quinton and Zane, and that she failed to provide adequate supervision of the children, leaving them with the mother, who she knew was unfit to provide care for the boys, which I can't get past the testing positive for substance at the birth of both children. And Sky now is only, I believe, 5 months old? It's unbelievable to me. Rumors began to spread, obviously, and people began to work off the theory that Leilani checked herself into treatment, which is why the police didn't believe that she was a flight risk, yet they still suspected her. But after this most recent update, I'm not too sure about that, and we're going to get there soon. On October 17th, Leilani made her first court appearance in family court regarding the custody and status of her two living children, who are currently in foster care. On October 18th, law enforcement held another press conference where they confirmed they still have not found Quinton's body. Chief Jeff Hadley of the Chatham County Police Department said that they will be conducting an extensive search of the waste management landfill located in the county. He stated that it is believed that Quinton's body was thrown in a dumpster and later transported to the landfill off Little Neck Road near L. Scott Stell Park. Now, daily searchers from the county police department and FBI, along with dozens of support personnel, will now be completing this operation. According to police, the FBI's evidence response team is headed to the landfill search and will be as precise and extensive as possible to find Quinton's remains and other potential evidence. It will be what those specifically trained agents from across the country find here that police will use as key evidence in this case. So where was Leilani? What was she doing while this search was taking place? Was she out looking for her son? Was she passing out flyers? Was she, sitting at home crying? Let me just tell you. Somebody at a popular bar in Tybee Island spotted Leilani and her mom, Billy Joe, ripping shots with each other. And someone even got a photo of it. That's right. While FBI agents were searching for her 20-month-old baby, who is allegedly buried in a landfill while she has publicly been identified as the prime suspect, Leilani and her mother are getting drunk together at the bar. They racked up a $300 tab while flirting and demanding phone numbers from the bartenders. Now let me just say this. Leilani had just been recently ordered to pay child support to her mother because she has custody of the boys, and apparently would lie and steal to get money to fuel her abuse and all of these things. So now you're just throwing $300 for a bar tab? What? How is that working? How does that equate? One employee at the bar had been following the case and recognized Leilani and Billy Joe. So the employee stated that they were drinking liquor and having a good time like nothing ever happened. And all I have to say with that is what a fucking monster. When they ended the night, they stayed in a hotel across the street from the bar like, classy people do, all while the search team was searching that landfill. The search team at the landfill searched hours at a time over the last week and then took the weekend off to rest, reset, and regroup to get back to searching on Monday morning this week. And searchers are exposed to numerous and very real health and safety hazards every minute that they're working. To help maintain the health of the search team, they will be standing down for 2 days after their landfill shift ends late in this afternoon, is what was said on a tweet on Friday before the weekend break. This stand down coincides with the normal hours of operations from Waste Management and will give everybody a chance to reset before the landfill search resumes just after sunrise on Monday morning. And this is what the department explained.
Last night, federal agents concluded their fourth day of searching a landfill, piece by piece, looking for any sign of Quinton Simon. It's been a large-scale operation since he went missing 17 days ago, and it hasn't been cheap. At yesterday's Chatham County Board of Commissioners meeting, the board approved the transfer of $250,000 in school zone camera revenue to police to support a, quote, active long-term investigation. We pressed police and learned exclusively that those funds are going to be used to offset costs by police over the last 2 weeks while searching for Quinton. Police officials told us over the phone, quote, we've never had an investigation of this magnitude in the 5 years of this department's existence. Those funds are supposed to be used for public safety purposes, and the chief could not think of a greater public safety purpose than seeking justice for Quinton Simon. Chatham County's police chief Jeff Hadley told reporters that his detectives haven't stopped working on this case since day one.
They're tired, but they're determined. And I couldn't be any prouder of them. They have worked 18-hour days since last Wednesday morning.
Authorities say the expert searchers will take the weekend off, tweeting, quote, it is dangerous and searchers are exposed to numerous health and safety hazards every minute that they're working. However, we're told investigators will continue to work on the case throughout the weekend and experts from the FBI will resume their search of the landfill Monday morning.
So a group of gosh, I don't know, what should I call it? I'll just call them true crime justice activists. Let's go there. Who follow large cases that are featured in the media and travel around the country to protest, sometimes contributing to cause more havoc, and scream at all hours of the night towards the suspects. Well, they caught wind of what had happened that night, and the next morning they were in the streets of Tybee Island, outside the hotel, screaming at Leilani and Billy Joe. 21st and 22nd of October, multiple of these protesters were arrested after spending hours in front of Billy Joe's house yelling. At one point, a neighbor came out with a baseball bat, threatening them. As someone from Billy Joe's house was trying to leave, the protesters blocked the driveway, of which the police were then called. Now listen, I too am frustrated that Leilani is still walking free after police have stated that they have evidence deeming her as the primary suspect in the disappearance and death of her son Quinton. I think there is a lot of confusion that I want to clear up. Leilani has not admitted to anything. Police have likely made her the #1 suspect because they either found video footage of her dumping stuff in a dumpster during the time frame or maybe found something on her tech. We don't know yet. Police aren't willing to risk premature charges in a case that has been downright emotionally draining for dozens of investigators looking for Quinton. They're waiting until they have concrete evidence, which makes sense. We saw Casey Anthony get away scot-free with the horrendous act that she committed, and whatever the police need to do to ensure that a botched investigation doesn't come from this is one step closer to making sure that this Casey Anthony 2.0 actually gets what she deserves. Although I still don't think it was right for them to name her a suspect publicly, because at that point you not only risk the public outrage, but you risk her fleeing and all sorts of different things and vigilante justice. So if you don't have enough evidence to arrest, might as well just kind of, keep it to yourself. It's my opinion, at least. So it's very likely that they are waiting for physical DNA proof or Quinton's body itself, or maybe even just biological evidence before they make an actual arrest. I'm sure she will eventually blow up. I am actually certain of it, and we will talk more about that in a second.
Leilani Simon is named the prime suspect in this case, so why haven't police made an arrest? Our Brooke Butler spoke to a legal analyst. She joins us live now from our newsroom, and Brooke, he gave you some insight as to why.
Yeah, Riley, he said there's a good chance police are being very strategic in the way they're going about handling this case.
The fact that she's not been arrested, at least not yet, tells me that they are working very carefully to cross their T's and dot all of their I's.
Police have yet to arrest Leilani Simon in the disappearance of her 20-month-old son, despite naming her the prime suspect. Legal analyst Philip Holloway says the reason she's free may have to do with the fact police haven't found her son's body yet.
They need to find the remains if they can, because even though it's not required to have a body to prosecute a murder under Georgia law, it is always better if they can identify a cause and manner of death.
He says police may also just be making sure their case is rock solid before moving forward with an arrest.
If they make mistakes now, that could actually jeopardize the long-term success of a prosecution where they have to prove somebody's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
And we should note, Chief Adley told reporters Thursday they don't believe Simon is a flight risk. Holloway says that means she may not have the means to travel, or it could mean investigators have taken steps to ensure she won't go anywhere.
It's possible that they have maybe taken passports and things that would prevent someone's ability to leave. So they've got their reasons for deciding that she's not a flight risk.
At the end of the day, Holloway says, from a legal standpoint, what police are doing now could help prosecutors should this ever go to trial.
They know that a prosecutor is going to have to get into court at some point in the future and prove this case to a jury's satisfaction beyond a reasonable doubt.
And Brooke, how unusual is it that police would name Leilani Simon the prime suspect but not arrest her?
Riley, Holloway says it's definitely not common. He says the tendency nowadays is to instead call someone a person of interest. To say Simon is the prime suspect tells him that police must have strong suspicion against her, Riley.
All right, Brooke, a big story tonight. Thank you so much for that update.
It's evident that Leilani is grasping onto anything she can right now. This week, Leilani is actually now trying to place blame on Quinton's biological father for his disappearance, allegedly saying he abducted him during the night. 24-year-old Henry Moss, otherwise known as Bubba, told the Daily Mail that the police questioned him about the last time that he had seen Quinton and when was the last time that he was in Savannah, Georgia. The police told him that Leilani was claiming that he had come and taken him during the night. Bubba told investigators he hadn't been in the Savannah area since he installed an air conditioner about a month ago in Tybee Island. He stated that he even provided police with an alibi for the whereabouts at the time of Quinton's disappearance, saying that he hasn't heard from her in 6 to 7 months. Now this just feels like Megan Boswell all over again. You got Casey Anthony, now Megan Boswell enters the chat. Because if you remember that case, she tried to say that her daughter Evelyn was with the biological father when, no, he was actually enlisted, I think, in the Army or the Marines, and he was completely far away. So you're an idiot. Of course your lie is going to get caught. Give me a break. Now, Bubba has 2 daughters with other women and stated that he met Leilani at a swimming hole in 2019. They started dating, and then she became pregnant with Quinton in 2020, allegedly keeping it a secret from Bubba that time. He stated that she didn't even tell him that she was pregnant until months later and said that he didn't really have a say in it. He said Leilani went to Alabama to give birth to Quinton in January 2021, so Bubba's name wasn't on the original birth certificate, and then she returned home. He said the tipping point in their relationship came in February of 2021 after he was served with an arrest warrant for breaking into a trailer home back in June of 2020. Leilani had already been arrested for the crime committed in the mobile home park in nearby Waynesboro, where she was living with her mother, Billie Joe. Leilani, however, blamed Bubba. A police incident report obtained by the Daily Mail states that Leilani allegedly cut her way through a screen window and stole $50 from a coin jar. The 40-year-old victim who owned the trailer then called the cops. When confronted by the cops, Leilani admitted to entering the camper and taking all of the change from the coin jar, but added that Bubba had convinced her to do it because he wouldn't be able to fit through the camper window to do it himself. Leilani was charged with first-degree burglary, which is a felony. It ended up being pled down to criminal trespass, court records show, and she was given 12 months probation. So, kind of a slap on the wrist. She still is on that probation, and another probationary period for a 2021 theft in North Carolina. Then, in a newly released phone call with Bubba from Saturday, Billie Joe says that she believes Quinton accidentally drowned, that he accidentally drowned in a bathtub because her daughter and her boyfriend were passed out on drugs. This phone call was 11 minutes, and I'm going to play some of it for you, and I'm also going to pull up part of the transcript on the screen. So Billie Joe can be heard saying, "I'm not going to lie to you, I feel like there was an accident. I feel like something happened while Quinton was in the bathtub and he drowned, and they were both high. That's my theory." So he replies, "Well, hell, they should have just called the police if something like that happened." To which Billie Joe says, "Yeah, but man, you do some stupid shit sometimes when you're high," trying to once again make an excuse for Leilani.
I feel strongly about that. I feel, honestly and truthfully, Bubba, I ain't gonna lie to you, I feel like there was an accident. I feel like something happened while Quinton was in the bathtub and he drowned and they were both high. That's my theory.
Well, hell, they should just call the police if something like that happened.
If you're high as hell, man, you do stupid shit. Even yourself, you're a different person whenever you defend her. Because I'm not defending her. You know what I mean? But I know I'm not the same person on this.
And even crazier, she says that it's not Leilani who told her that she doesn't remember anything from that morning, that Leilani never said that to her, but that in fact, police are the ones who said Leilani didn't remember anything, saying the police are the ones saying that she went into a traumatic state and blacked out. This is what Billie Joe told Bubba in this call, saying it's not her saying that she doesn't remember. That's what police told her, and that's what they told me. Now, I think if this is the case, and I think that if police said, like, Leilani, you probably just blacked out, you don't remember what happened, I think they're using it more as a tactic to try to soften her up and wear her down a bit to where she would be like, "You're right, I did do something I don't remember, or I have flashes, or I had a nightmare that this happened." I don't think they actually believe that she doesn't remember anything. I think they're trying to say that as like a strategic tactic to get her to open up more. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read this next part of the article for you while I pull it up on the screen here. So it says, Billie Joe went on to slam protesters who have been gathering outside her home, saying it makes it hard to even process what's going on around us. I can't even walk outside to appreciate my own son's memorial or put down gifts that I got for him. And in their conversation, Bubba asked Billie Joe, who has legal custody of Quinton and his older brother, and why police are so confident that he was dumped. And so she says, they're saying that they've got video. Nobody's seen the video, though. And I don't know if that's video of Leilani going to the landfill or going to the dumpster outside of that trailer park or, what that video is referring to. But she's saying that nobody has seen the video, which I'm sure there is a video if they're only searching the landfill. So both she and Bubba were wondering why Danny wasn't also named a suspect, expressing anger that he has since left town. And the rumor was that he was staying with family in Atlanta, but Billie Joe said that he was actually in North Carolina, saying he lied about going to Atlanta. He's not in Atlanta. He's in Dunn, North Carolina. I'm trying to expose him right now online the best I can. And it says how she spent the last few weeks up with her daughter, Leilani, and other friends. And she says that she told Bubba she feels like she's a prisoner in her own house as this investigation continues forward. He also says, in a very interesting part, is that she's skeptical that FBI will actually be able to find Quinton's body in the landfill, saying, you got to figure there's a lot of trucks that go out there and dump. And it was a week before they decided that's where they were going to go. So that's a lot of trucks all week. Now, again, instead of being skeptical, wouldn't you be hopeful? Rather than being like, I bet they won't even find him. Wouldn't you be saying, I hope they do find him. I hope they find him. I hope they figure this out. I hope they get to the bottom of it. But no. Not from her, not good old Billy Joe. Instead, she's deflecting, she's defending, and she's making excuses. She then goes on in this conversation to justify her and Leilani going to the bar that day, because we all know that, they were ripping shots, getting wasted, all of this stuff. And she puts on this whole poor me routine, and you can read the whole article if you want, but basically the gist of it is her saying like, we felt like we needed to go have dinner, we needed to go and eat, we needed to have something, and one thing led to another, and we were drinking and partying. But she also says that Leilani wasn't drinking, that it was just her, that Leilani ordered a drink, or she ordered a drink for her, but that she drank Leilani's and she drank the friends, and she's like, before we knew it, we were lit, having a great time, which it's like, look, I have been wasted out of my mind before, and if you are depressed or if there is something serious going on, usually your mind wouldn't be going to partying no matter how drunk you are, but it would almost be like hyper-focused on whatever feelings you're feeling internally. That's just my opinion. But anyways, so she justifies them going to this restaurant, going to the bar, saying, it wasn't meant like that. It just got out of hand, blah, 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 blah. And what I also find just so interesting about this is she's defending Leilani tooth and bone. I don't know if that's the expression. And also saying, it wasn't Leilani who said she doesn't remember. It's the police who said that. She's going to the bar with Leilani, doing all of these things, which I get it. It's her daughter. But there also was no love lost between the two of them. Billy Joe had legal custody. She was evicting Leilani and her boyfriend. She was just ordered to receive child support from Leilani for the boys. Like, there was no love lost between the two of them. So now that all of a sudden they are thick as thieves and defending her and going and doing interviews side by side with her and all of these things, it just strikes me as very odd. It doesn't feel authentic, and it feels a little weird. It feels a little misplaced. But tell me if you agree or not in the comments. On October 24th, Leilani and Billy Joe did their first interview since all of this happened.
Screaming, "Where's Quinton?" and running through the house. I ran and looked everywhere, inside, outside, just started screaming for help. I'm here, I've been here every day since this. I am not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station.
And I will walk with her.
All we want is justice for Quinton Simon.
That's it.
We want justice for
too.
Quinton.
At whatever cost it is. We don't care the cost.
We want answers just like everybody else does. At the end of it all, we love you, baby Q. My little monkey, and we want him home. We're in limbo. We're in limbo just like everybody else is. We're sitting here every day waiting for answers. Being in this house is hard. My mother and I can't even stay inside throughout the day. We always are outside because there's just so many memories that we don't know if we're going to have again. You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come. Hard to even process what's going on around us. We get to the point that we have to barricade our own home in order to feel safe in our backyard. Because we can't even process what's happening everywhere else, or even have the time to do so. I can't even walk out and appreciate my own son's memorial, or put down the gifts that I got for him. I can't even go out there and do that without harassment and negligence and just everything. It's just devastating to see that this is how the outside world reacts. Every day that goes by is less tears and more anger, not knowing what's happening, if that's even understandable. You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come.
We want something great to come out of this, but mostly we want him not to be found in that landfill. We want him found
happy and alive. We want him back in our arms, holding us. That's what we want. We just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and they are hoping that, you know, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior. But it's not. That's their best hopes at this point.
Now let me just talk about this for a minute. One thing that I find incredibly interesting is their body language. First, let's talk about the obvious. There are no tears. I would think that after a 2 to 4 minute interview where you were crying or pretending to cry, you would at least have to wipe your eyes at some point to get the moisture off, but apparently not. Not only that, but at times during the interview, it's almost as if Leilani is looking at Billie Joe like, look, Mom, is this good? This is right. Yeah, this is what I should be saying, right? Meanwhile, Billie Joe is not even able to look at Leilani while Leilani is listing the possible scenarios of where Quinton might be. So watch this part again.
If that's even understandable. You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come. We want him back in our arms, holding us. That's what we want. We just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and they are hoping that, you know, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior. But it's not.
I don't know about you, but I think that that speaks a lot. During this interview, you see Billie Joe kind of looking off because she doesn't want to make eye contact with Leilani. You see her face kind of looking at her like, huh? As she's explaining stuff. Leilani's crocodile tears. The whole thing is bizarre, especially when Leilani says, you know, if something comes out against me or if proof comes out, I'll march myself to the police station. What? What are you even talking about right now? So that same night, protesters stood out on the streets playing baby crying sounds from speakers while Leilani and Billie Joe sat in their backyard wailing. So this is why I think it won't be long until Leilani and Billie Joe just crack, because they are spending their nights drinking and doing God knows what else while entertaining these protesters who are outside of their homes all night long. It's my belief that the remains will hopefully soon be found, and it doesn't seem like they have a murder weapon, a cause of death, or anything like that yet, so I'm hopeful that that comes when everything is recovered. But the audacity, like, that's the best way to say this, the audacity of Leilani, the audacity of Billie Joe to do this, you know, bogus-ass interview, it's beyond. It is just beyond. How long do you guys think they can keep this up? Let me know in the comments. I almost feel like part of it is that they are not intelligent enough to realize that a case is still being built against one, maybe both, I don't know. And so maybe they're celebrating a little bit, maybe they aren't taking it as seriously, but even so, let me just play devil's advocate for a second here. Let's say Leilani had nothing to do with Quinton's disappearance or suspected murder. Let's say he truly was abducted by a stranger in the middle of the night. Your other 2 kids have now been ripped from your custody. So you have 2 kids who are no longer in your custody and 1 kid who is presumed dead. And you're going to take it upon yourself to grieve and to deal with that by going to a bar and getting wasted, by putting out this interview. Don't you think that your time would be better spent trying to gain custody back of your children if you were innocent? Don't you think your time would be better spent trying to assist in the search for your 20-month-old son Quinton? But instead of all of that, you're partying and you're getting drunk. And it makes me have to ask the question, why? Why? If you truly are innocent, which I don't believe for a long shot she is, and I don't think anybody does, especially if you're watching this video. But it's like, even if, you know, everything was a lie this whole time and you are truly innocent and you don't remember anything about that morning, you had a manic break or you were asleep or whatever the reason or justification is, and it was somebody else and you are totally innocent, you've now lost custody of your 2 other kids. So why aren't you fighting to get them back and proving that you're responsible, proving that you're a fit parent? Why are you choosing to spend your time and your money at the bar? Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Make it make sense, guys. So let me know in the comments what you think. How long until they get caught or Leilani gets caught and the jig is up? 1 day, 5 days, 10 days? What do you guys think? I'm curious to know your thoughts. I will continue to keep you guys updated. As soon as we know more in this case, I will jump on here and do more live streams. But as always on Instagram, it's easier for me to just like quickly post a video update. So if you're not following along there, make sure you do so. It's @_Annie Elise, and that's the way to get the quickest updates. Otherwise, I will always come onto YouTube and update you, hopefully sooner rather than later. Thanks again, guys. Please don't forget, leave your comments below with your thoughts on this, and please give this video a thumbs up on your way out and subscribe if you haven't done so already. All right, until the next one, stay safe.